Welcome to Storytelling and Beyond, where stories breathe life, emotion, and meaning into every moment. Today's tale dives deep into the heart of desire, sacrifice, betrayal, and the unstoppable power of love. Burning Desire, when a billionaire's love turns to fire and passion becomes unstoppable, isn't just a title, it's the pulse of a journey that changes two lives forever. It all begins on a crisp autumn evening in Manhattan. The city skyline glowed like a constellation pulled down from the heavens, and inside the opulent ballroom of the Delacroix Hotel, the annual charity gala buzzed with energy. The wealthy and powerful mingled beneath golden chandeliers, champagne flutes in hand, dressed in designer labels that shimmered under soft jazz tones. It was a world built on gloss and illusion. Ethan Cross, a billionaire with cold gray eyes and a colder reputation, stood at the center of it all, untouchable, unreadable, and endlessly pursued by socialites hungry for fame and fortune. But as he moved through the room, politely nodding at investors and ignoring shallow flirtations, his gaze stopped at something unfamiliar. Not a sparkling diamond or a rich heiress, but a young woman standing by the dessert table, rearranging plates with gentle care and a nervous grace. Her name was Lily Harper. Dressed modestly in a navy blue dress with simple flats, she looked entirely out of place, but not to Ethan. Her laugh, soft and warm, floated through the noise as she calmed a flustered waiter. Her presence didn't beg for attention, it commanded it in the most silent, powerful way. Ethan crossed the floor, intrigued. Volunteering at a gala filled with people you probably don't like, brave or foolish? She looked up at him, unfazed. Both, probably. But the charity helps children with disabilities, and they matter more than how awkward I feel. It wasn't the response Ethan expected. It wasn't rehearsed or flirtatious, it was real. And it struck a chord he didn't know he had. For the first time in years, a conversation wasn't about profits or appearances. It was about passion, purpose, and a strange spark between two strangers from different worlds. They sat on a quiet terrace later that night, the cold air nipping at their cheeks while city lights danced below. Lily talked about her dream to open a creative space for orphan children, a place where they could feel seen and loved. Ethan listened, truly listened, not because he wanted to impress her, but because he couldn't not. Something began to shift. Something dangerous, magnetic, undeniable. And just like that, in a room where everything was designed to impress, the billionaire was captivated not by wealth or power, but by warmth, humility, and a kind of strength that couldn't be bought. Weeks passed, and Ethan found himself drifting further away from his usual world. Business meetings once filled with fire and dominance now felt dim beside the quiet evenings he spent listening to Lily's laughter over takeout boxes and city park benches. She was unlike anyone he'd ever known, uninterested in his wealth, unimpressed by his power. Instead, she asked him about his dreams, not his assets, and that unsettled something deep inside him. He started showing up at her small community center, disguised in a hoodie and jeans, just to help paint walls or hand out snacks to the kids. At first, the staff were skeptical, wondering what a billionaire was doing elbow-deep in paint. But Lily treated him no differently, handing him a roller and reminding him to watch the corners. He liked that. He liked her world, a world grounded in love and honesty, not in polished surfaces and hollow praise. Their connection grew stronger with every passing day. But the storm wasn't far behind. One evening, as they walked beneath a canopy of autumn leaves, hand in hand, Lily pulled away for the first time. "I need to ask you something," she said softly, stopping in her tracks. "Why me? You're surrounded by women who live in your world. Why pull me into it?" Ethan took a breath. "Because you're not from my world. And that's exactly what saved me." But reality had sharp edges. Word of Ethan's unusual romantic interest had started to circulate in elite circles. Media began prying. Gossip blogs hinted at the mystery girl seen with Manhattan's most eligible bachelor. Photos began to surface, blurry but enough to cause chaos. Shareholders began to question his priorities. His mother, a steel-hearted socialite, demanded answers. And in a private boardroom meeting, Ethan was given a warning: distance himself from the girl, or risk the empire he'd built from the ground up. Lily heard about it not from him, but from a headline that read, "Billionaire's reputation at risk over charity worker romance." Her hands trembled as she read it, not because of the words, but because she feared losing something she had just begun to believe in. That night, Ethan showed up at her doorstep, drenched from the rain, hair plastered to his forehead. "I didn't tell you because I knew you'd walk away," he said, voice low and raw. "And now that I know," she asked, arms crossed, eyes red from silent tears. "I'll still choose you," he said. "Even if I lose everything else." She looked at him for a long time, then quietly stepped aside, letting him in, not just into her home, but into the sacred space she had guarded her whole life. But in choosing love over legacy, Ethan had unknowingly lit a fuse that would burn through everything he thought he controlled. Because when passion meets power, the explosion isn't always one of romance, it can be of ruin. The boardroom buzzed with tension as Ethan entered, wearing a tailored charcoal suit that somehow felt heavier than ever before. Executives glanced up from their tablets, murmuring greetings that lacked warmth. On the screen behind the head chair, tabloid headlines were projected like accusations: billionaire in love scandal, romance risks business stability, and worse. Graham, the oldest partner and closest to Ethan's late father, cleared his throat. "We need to talk about Lily." Ethan's jaw tensed. "She's not a problem. She's a distraction," another partner cut in. "You're not just a man in love, Ethan. You're the face of this empire. Your choices ripple through investments, through media perception, through board confidence." "I'm not ashamed of who I love," he said, voice steely, but inside, the conflict roared. They pushed harder. Ultimatums disguised as suggestions. Retreat from the relationship. Or relinquish public responsibilities. Step back from the upcoming expansion. Let the crisis fade. Meanwhile, Lily faced her own storm. Her small community center was now overrun with reporters and curiosity seekers. Donations paused, programs disrupted. Volunteers began to leave out of fear, and Lily felt her dreams slipping through her fingers. Every news cycle chipped away at her privacy, every whisper a blade of judgment. Her photo was splashed across gossip sites, her character questioned simply because of who she loved. That evening, she confronted Ethan. Not with anger, but with quiet heartbreak. "I never wanted to be famous," she said. "I just wanted to be enough." Ethan's eyes searched hers, helpless. "You are. But they won't stop until they break us." She touched his cheek gently. "Then don't let them." The next day, Ethan stunned the corporate world. He stepped down from 2 key leadership positions. Not because he was retreating, but because he was building something else. Something he had never dared imagine: an empire that didn't cost him the people he loved. It made headlines for days. Investors panicked. Some accused him of recklessness. Others admired his boldness. But Ethan wasn't chasing applause anymore. He was chasing truth. And that truth was Lily. Yet just when it seemed the worst had passed, a deeper betrayal surfaced, one that didn't come from the world outside, but from within his own family. A hidden hand had fed the media storm from the beginning. And when Ethan found out who, the fallout would change not just his future, but his very understanding of loyalty. The soft rustle of paper and the distant ticking of a grandfather clock were the only sounds in the otherwise silent estate library. Ethan stood by the tall window, eyes fixed on the garden below where sunlight filtered through blooming rose bushes Lily had planted. She was out there now, watering them as if the outside world's noise didn't exist. But inside Ethan's mind, a storm was brewing. He turned a manila folder over in his hands, a confidential report delivered just hours earlier by his private investigator. Inside were call logs, messages, and transaction records. All of it pointed to one person, his own cousin, Marcus. The betrayal hit like ice water. Marcus had been like a brother, trusted, close, present at every milestone. But ambition had corrupted him. The leaked stories, the invasive media coverage, the sudden investor unrest, it had been orchestrated. And all for one reason: Marcus wanted the CEO chair Ethan had vacated. He wanted it badly enough to dismantle Ethan's life and reputation, even if it meant destroying Lily in the process. Ethan walked into the dining room where the family was gathered for brunch, a pristine table of polished silver and crisp linens. Conversations halted when he entered. Marcus looked up, smiling as if nothing was wrong. Ethan dropped the folder on the table, pages spilling out. Care to explain this? He said, his voice calm but sharp enough to draw blood. Everyone stared. Marcus went pale. What is this? The truth, Ethan replied. Emails to journalists. Anonymous tips. Payment records traced back to your account. The silence cracked. Ethan's mother gasped, and Aunt muttered a curse under her breath. Marcus tried to spin it. I was only trying to protect the company. You were blinded by her. You were risking everything for a woman you barely knew. Ethan leaned forward. I know her better than I ever knew you. He didn't shout. He didn't rage. That wasn't his style. But his words landed with the weight of thunder. With calculated poise, Ethan announced that Marcus was to be removed from all company roles immediately. Legal action would follow. The board had been informed. After the confrontation, Ethan left the room, walking out to the garden. Lily looked up from the roses, sensing his tension. It was Marcus, he said quietly. She set the watering can down, her face unreadable. I'm sorry. He reached for her hand. Don't be. He showed me what really matters. The two stood in the middle of the garden as the late afternoon sun bathed them in light. Behind them, the house was still full of whispers, shock, and unraveling lies. But in that garden, something stronger was growing, love rooted in truth, resilience, and the courage to choose integrity over power. It wasn't over yet. The media still spun their tales, the company would need rebuilding, and old wounds would take time to heal. But for the first time in months, Ethan wasn't afraid. Because he had Lily by his side, and a fire within that betrayal could not extinguish. Months passed. What once was a relationship shrouded in scandal and doubt had now blossomed into a legacy built on authenticity, courage, and love. Ethan and Lily had weathered storms that would have torn most people apart: public scrutiny, family betrayal, corporate chaos, but here they were, stronger than ever. The mansion was no longer a cold palace of marble and silence. Laughter echoed through its halls. Ethan had converted one wing into a literacy and arts center in Lily's name, a gift to the city and a symbol of what truly mattered to them both: giving back. Children from underprivileged neighborhoods came each week, their bright eyes filled with wonder. Lily led workshops herself, never once needing the spotlight, but always becoming the heart of the room. Ethan, too, had transformed. He returned to the business world, but on his own terms, founding a new firm rooted in social impact, sustainability, and fairness. Investors called him crazy at first. Then the numbers proved otherwise. At the grand opening gala for the Lily Foundation, Ethan took the stage in a simple black suit. Lily stood beside him, her hand gently in his. I once believed power was everything, he began, his voice calm and sure. But life showed me something greater: love that withstands, truth that restores, and the kind of strength that comes not from status, but from standing beside someone who believes in you when no one else does. Applause erupted. That night, as they danced under string lights in the courtyard, surrounded by the very people who once doubted them, there was no bitterness, only peace. Their journey had started with chaos, with whispers and headlines. But it ended with impact, purpose, and a fire that never died. Thank you for watching this powerful story of redemption, love, and resilience. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Storytelling and Beyond, where every tale carries meaning, and every voice finds a home. More heart-touching, inspirational, and unforgettable stories are waiting just for you. See you in the next one.